In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to save thousands of dollars the next time you purchase real estate. But that's only if you're interested in saving money. Okay, if you don't want to save any money, you can pause the video right now and go watch something else. Okay, for all the people that are still here, this is what we're going to talk about on today's video. How to get the absolute best deal when buying real estate. My name is Tom Storey and I appreciate you being back here on the channel. This is a video I've wanted to do for a long time. These are conversations we have with our clients all the time. And I realized the other day, I was like, I've never recorded myself actually talking about this. If you find value in this video, all I ask is that you hit that thumbs up button, the like button on this video. It very much helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already and you want to subscribe to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to book an appointment with me, you can go into the first link in the description, book a buyer call, a seller call, or a discovery call to chat about the market. Okay, so when most people buy a property, here's the typical steps that they take. They save for a down payment, okay? They go to the bank or a mortgage broker and get pre-approved for a mortgage. Then they connect with a real estate professional and their team of people as well. Maybe that means a lawyer. And then they go out and view properties. Fairly straightforward, but there's one thing that happens that I think you can change to be a way more competitive buyer. A lot of the times buyers are relying on daily searches, and most real estate agents across Canada can set you up on a search where every single morning you wake up and you get a list of properties that match your criteria. Or you can go to third-party websites. You don't even need a realtor for this, and it'll just send you listings when they come to the market. You probably think to yourself at this point, Tom, what are you talking about here? Yes, of course, this is what everybody does. But here's the difference. You are only receiving the new listings. So most people wait, receive the new listings, go see them, make an offer. They either get it or they don't, and then they go through that process again. But there's a ton of properties that were on the market before your search started, and maybe you don't even know about them. So if we're going to go down this path, there's a few things you need to know. One, there's going to be more effort involved. Number two, it could take longer, which means you will have to have more patience. This is kind of like going into a Winners and searching an hour through the racks to find that one piece of clothing you like for a great deal versus walking into Nordstrom's, finding exactly what you want within 1 minute, but the cost is a lot more. All right, so strategy number one is understanding the average days on market for the type of property you want to buy. So let's go over a case study here. Let's say you want to buy a condo and you look at the average market stats, and all across Canada, this information is public, and it'll show you what's the average days on market. Now, keep in mind that days on market only tracks the properties that actually sold. So if the average days on market for a condo in downtown Toronto was 23, that tells me that every new listing that comes to the market, if it's priced correctly and looks good, should sell in 23 days. But what about all the properties that are still on the market after 23 days? A lot of buyers just think there's something wrong with them, and sometimes the only thing that's wrong with them is the price. So here's what you do. You set a secondary search on top of the daily listings. Once or twice a week, you have your real estate agent pull a list of properties that have been on the market over, in this case, 23 days. Because you know these properties typically won't have an offer date, typically have more room for negotiation, and the seller is probably starting to think, well, why hasn't my property sold yet? Which takes me to strategy number two. When you are looking over properties online, do not skip over the properties with the crappy photos. It makes total sense that you want the property that has amazing photos, amazing staging, the lighting looks great. That's what you're going to see because it looks really, really good. It's marketed very, very well. But you're not a seller. You're a buyer, and buyers want to get the best price. So even if there's a property where the photos don't look very good or they're taken with a crappy old iPhone or something like that, still go see it if, big if it's the area you want, if it's the type of property that you want, and all the other things are there, but it's just marketed incorrectly, you actually might be able to get that property for a way lower price than something that was marketed the right way. Here's some inside baseball about my market. Whenever I see a property listed by a real estate agent that is not a part of the Toronto Real Estate Board, because I can see that, it says like interboard listing, I know they don't know the area. And if our clients like those properties, I'm usually pretty excited about it because I know that agent doesn't really know what's going on, and there's a very high likelihood we can get a much better price. The next tip is looking at tenanted properties. Now, depending on where you're buying in Canada, the rules are different. In Ontario, if you buy a tenanted property where the tenant is on month to month, you can give 60 days notice at the beginning of the next calendar month, but you or a direct family member has to move into the property. The reason why I say this is because I see this time and time again. Properties that have tenants in them sell for less than properties that are owner occupied. That's actually a whole nother video I'll probably do where I'll break down the numbers for you, but I see this happen always because the tenant doesn't care that showings are happening. The property can't be staged when it's tenanted, right? And sometimes there's issues with showing availability and things like that. Now, there are absolutely risks risks involved with buying tenanted properties. This is not for everybody, okay? So forewarning on this. Sometimes there can be issues on closing. If the tenant decides they don't want to leave and you have to go through the landlord-tenant board process, that's a whole nother thing that very much makes it not worth it. But I see this time and time again. Properties that are currently tenanted are selling for less than properties that are owner occupied or vacant. Now, the last tip we're going to talk about today is something our team has already done a whole lot this year. So here's what I'd recommend. Let's say you want to buy a type of property in an area where the inventory is very low. And you're like, oh, I'd really love to buy this, but there's literally nothing good to choose from. Well, the market has picked up more recently, but the last time the market had cooled down, for us at least, was last year at the end of 2022. So what we would do is we would do a search for our clients and we would say, what was on the market from September to December last year that didn't sell and was either terminated or taken off the market? And then what I'll do is I'll call the agent that had that listing and just say, hey, out of curiosity, does your person still want to sell? Because I have someone that will buy that property. So we've done quite a few off-market sales this year that never ended up back on the MLS because we were able to do it privately. That meant no competition. And in my personal opinion, I think we got really good deals because you're solving the seller's problem. They don't have to go back to the market. They don't have to worry about showings and everything else. I think this strategy, if you can do it in the market that you are looking in, can save you a ton of money. And some final tips to wrap up this video. Beat the 5 p.m. rush. If you see a property come to the market that you absolutely love, go see it on your lunch hour because everyone else is going to see it at 5 p.m. Make an offer at 1 p.m. that expires at 4:30 p.m. and put the pressure on the seller. Long weekend offers I also find are very successful for our buyers. When we make an offer on a Friday heading into the long weekend, there's typically way less competition and we get properties at prices that we didn't actually think would happen. And if you're trying to be an extremely savvy and competitive buyer and people ask, well, what's the best month to buy a property? Historically, in my market here in Toronto, it is August and December. That is when the average sale price per year is typically the lowest. However, there is way less options at that time. I hope you found this video valuable and I hope this can save you thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, there's nothing wrong with buying the property the old-fashioned way, which is waiting for new listings. In fact, that's probably what 90% of the market does. But if you want to be competitive, if you want to take advantage of the data, try a few of the things we talked about in this video, and I hope it works out for you. My name's Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins.